Hello everyone. One question vexes every physician when you are an unstable patient. Is the tissue getting enough oxygen? In this video, we'll break down the physiology of oxygen delivery to the tissues in a simple but clinically meaningful way. Here, we'll review the fundamental physiology of oxygen delivery and tissue oxygenation. These concepts form the foundation for understanding any form of shock, like sepsis, hemorrhagic, or cardiogenic. So let's get started. In the previous lecture, we discussed the understanding of oxygen delivery and oxygen consumption. Oxygen delivery, that is DO₂, was equal to your oxygen content multiplied by the cardiac output, and this we calculated to be around a liter of oxygen per minute that is delivered to your tissues. Oxygen consumption, on the other hand, was VO₂, and we calculated it by subtracting the oxygen content of the venous blood from the oxygen that was supplied, and we calculated it to be around 250 ml of oxygen per minute. And we calculated oxygen extraction ratio, which was around 25%. That is the ratio of VO₂ by DO₂. We also discussed VO₂-DO₂ relationship in this curve. As the oxygen delivery decreases beyond a certain threshold called anaerobic threshold, you start using anaerobic glycolysis and your lactate production rises. Please review the previous lecture. The links are in the description below. In this lecture, we'll understand the basic concept of oxygen supply and demand and have deeper understanding of VO₂-DO₂ relationship and see why simply looking at O2 sats and cardiac output may not give you a good idea of a patient requirements. The first question in any unstable patient is the question, is my delivery of oxygen to the tissues adequate? And we know that delivery is nothing but content multiplied by the cardiac output. Now, looking at the equation, you can see that the oxygen content is mostly constant. So the only variable your body can do to improve the supply would be to use the cardiac output. We know that cardiac output is nothing but heart rate times stroke volume. So let's see how much of the supply can be increased by the cardiac output. A normal heart rate is around 60 and it maxes out between 140 to 160. And this you can calculate by 220 minus age. That gives you the max heart rate. So on an average, it increases your supply by 2 to 3 times. Stroke volume is around 60 ml per beat and it maxes out around 120 ml per beat. So increase in stroke volume can increase your supply by at least 2 times. So your basal cardiac output, which is 5 liters per minute, can increase to 25 to 30 liters per minute, sometimes reaching as high as 35. However, we are talking about normal persons, but when you're talking about patient in ICUs and hospital settings, their max cardiac output would be much lower than this. So let's see what does increase in cardiac output looks like on a VO₂-DO₂ curve. So as the oxygen delivery to your tissues decreases, your heart rate and stroke volume will increase to maintain the DO₂ to keep the oxygen extraction ratio around 25%. The second way your body can use more oxygen is by extracting more from the hemoglobin molecule. So once your cardiac output is maxed out, the tissues will start extracting higher percentage from the blood supply. To survive, they would still need their 250 cc's of oxygen per minute. That was your VO₂. Your arterial blood is 100% saturated and your body usually extracts around 70%. That means approximately 1 oxygen molecule from every hemoglobin molecule. If your delivery becomes slow, your body starts extracting more oxygen from the same hemoglobin molecule. So for example, in this case, you only have 2 oxygen remaining, so 50% saturations. However, it gets more difficult to extract next oxygen molecule from the hemoglobin. So it's easier to get the first oxygen from the hemoglobin. It's a little bit more difficult to get the second and a lot more difficult to get third. And this happens because as the oxygen attaches to hemoglobin, it decreases the affinity of oxygen for the next oxygen molecule to attach to the hemoglobin. So the affinity of oxygen is least at 100 and it increases as your saturations go down. And this has to do with something called R and T state of hemoglobin. We'll discuss about this in next few lectures. So what does more extraction look like on the VO₂-DO₂ relationship? So once your cardiac output is maximized by maximizing your heart rate and stroke volume, your oxygen delivery is going to start going down. And your SvO₂, that's your amount of oxygen that remains on the venous side, is going to drop down. So let's look at this in more intuitive way. So let's take an analogy. Say your heart is pumping 5 trucks every minute. Your cardiac output is therefore 5 trucks, and since these trucks are filled with oxygen with 100% sats, your DO₂ is equivalent to 5 trucks full of 100% oxygen. Say your tissues use 2 trucks of oxygen per minute, that is your VO₂. So in return, you will get 2 empty trucks that are used by your tissues and 3 full trucks. So that gives you oxygen extraction ratio of 40, that is 2 out of 5. So your venous return sats will be 60%. That means 3 out of 5 are still full. Now this is an analogy. The tissues don't just take all the oxygen from 2 trucks and leave the 3 trucks intact, but what they do is take 40% of all the truck. That is equivalent to 2 truckloads. So it looks something like this. Say your cardiac output drops to 4 trucks per minute and they're still 100% sats. So your DO₂ is 4 trucks full of oxygen. Since your tissues still require your 2 trucks of oxygen per minute, the oxygen extraction ratio is now 50% because 2 out of 4 are empty, and your venous return sats are 50% as well. If your cardiac output drops to 3 trucks per minute and the tissues use 2 trucks of oxygen, your oxygen extraction ratio is now 67%. That means your SvO₂, venous return sats, will be 33%. So you can see that SvO₂ is the marker of demand-supply mismatch. Your SvO₂ will drop if your supply is decreased or the tissues are asking for more oxygen. That's your increased demand. The O2 sats on the arterial side is not a marker of mismatch. It is only marker of one component of the supply, the other being cardiac output. Most of the times you don't know what tissues require or your venous return or cardiac output is. So just looking at oxygen sats and hoping that your tissues are getting good amount of oxygen might be very misleading. Let's take another example. Say your cardiac output was good, you still have 5 trucks per minute with 100% sats, but your tissue demand increases to 3 trucks of oxygen per minute, and this can happen with fever, exercise, agitation, etc. And now your oxygen extraction ratio has increased to 60% because 3 trucks are empty. So your venous return is at 40% sats. So low SvO₂ means there is an increased demand as well. You can see that the tissues are really not getting the enough blood flow because they have to extract more. This cardiac output is lower than what the tissues really want. Simply looking at the cardiac output and percent sats to evaluate the DO₂ can be misleading. And it's always a good idea to look at SvO₂ because it gives you the real full picture of demand-supply picture. So in ICU, we usually like to get venous blood gas from the central lines rather than PaO2 from the arterial lines. Let me give you another example. Say your normal cardiac output is 5 liters per minute and you just ran 5 flights of stairs. Your oxygen demand in the tissue has increased multiple folds. Now, your cardiac output would increase depending on how much exercise you have done. That's why your heart rate and stroke volume increase when you run up the stairs. But if your cardiac output remains the same at 5 liters per minute, you would most likely pass out because your supply at 5 liters per minute does not meet the requirement of your muscles. This is one of the reasons why you will see elevated lactate in a patient with normal cardiac output or index in a cardiac ICU. You're most likely not meeting the oxygen demanded by the tissues. So this is the teaching point of this whole lecture. You always have to look at both demand and supply. Just looking at one side will land your patient in trouble. And the best way to look at this mismatch is your return venous oxygen called SvO₂. That is the venous saturation that is measured in the pulmonary artery. So what you're looking for are clinical finding of shock. Shock is defined as demand-supply mismatch in the tissues. Shock is not low blood pressure. Low blood pressure is just one of the reasons for shock. You can actually have shock with normal blood pressure. The way to think about symptom of shock is that your organs will start becoming dysfunctional. So let's understand VO₂ DO₂ relationship in few examples of shock. So let's look at hemorrhagic shock first. If you look at your oxygen delivery equation, you can see that if your hemoglobin starts dropping, the only thing your body can do is increase your cardiac output. So as your oxygen delivery drops, your heart rate will increase to keep your oxygen delivery constant. So one of the first signs of any bleeding is increase in heart rate and stroke volume. You'll see the changes in hemodynamics much before your patient develops hematomasis, melena, or a drop in hemoglobin. If the bleeding persists, you will have maximization of your cardiac output and your delivery will start dropping and you will go into hemorrhagic shock. Now let's take an example where your hemoglobin falls from 15 to 5 gram per dl. This is a massive blood loss. So in a normal person, your cardiac output should increase from 5 liters per minute to 15 liters per minute to maintain the oxygen delivery. However, there is some nuance that you have to know. If the process is slow, for example, in chronic anemia, your body has time to readjust the intravascular volume. Your exercise tolerance will certainly be lower, but your cardiac output can be maintained. And apart from some exercise intolerance, you will be mostly okay. However, in acute blood loss, blood volume is not quickly readjusted. And this results to the problem that your cardiac output may not increase from 5 liters to 15 liters per minute. But the problem that hemorrhagic shock runs into is low blood volumes. If you have low blood volumes, your filling of the ventricles is decreased. Why? Because of two reasons. First, your volume is low, and because of the tachycardia, the time that is required in diastole to fill these ventricles becomes shorter and shorter. If you remember from your physiology lectures, most of the filling of your ventricles happens passively in diastole. Only a small amount of blood enters the ventricle with atrial contraction. Initially, you will see a rise in cardiac output with increasing heart rate. However, at excessive heart rate, you might have problem with passive filling. In elderly and cardiac patient, it can be even worse. Why? Because these guys have stiffer heart and sometimes they cannot even generate tachycardic response. They have higher rates of atrial fibrillation. So stroke volume does not always rise and may even fall. So you can see that even simple things like hemorrhagic shock have got a lot of complexities, and understanding these complex physiology can help you manage your patient more effectively. Let's look at cardiogenic shock. If you look at the oxygen delivery equation, if your cardiac output is affected, the only way your body can manage oxygen requirement is by extracting more oxygen from the blood. As your cardiac output decreases, your delivery decreases and your SvO₂ starts dropping, and that's why you monitor the SvO₂ in your cardiac ICUs. Once your delivery falls below a certain level, that's called critical DO₂, anaerobic glycolysis will start and lactate will start rising. Now let's look at septic shock. Sepsis is a hyperdynamic state with vasodilation and huge sympathetic surge. So your cardiac output is high. So let's say your cardiac output is 8 trucks per minute and all of your trucks are filled. So your DO₂ is 8 truckloads of oxygen. Your tissue still uses 2 trucks of oxygen. Only 2 out of 6 are used. That means 75% return with full oxygen. So your SvO₂ here is 75%. Now VO₂ in sepsis can be highly variable. Sepsis is a hypermetabolic state. However, because of endotoxin and mitochondrial dysfunction, the amount of oxygen used by the tissues might be much lower than expected. Say for example, your tissues are using only 1.5 trucks of oxygen. Your venous return is now 6.5 out of 8. Therefore, your SvO₂ rises further, and in this case, it's about 80%. Elevated SvO₂ can suggest sepsis or some vasodilatory state or dysfunctional oxygen utilization. And most of the times you are dealing with mixed shocks. So you can see how quickly the things can start getting complicated if your patient has a mix of cardiogenic, septic, and relatively low blood counts. Okay, so let's review the learning point. Increasing cardiac output and oxygen extraction are the only ways to increase oxygen supply to the tissues. Arterial sats and cardiac output, while important, do not give a complete picture of oxygen delivery. You have to check your SvO₂s. Know the clinical finding of shock, and lactate rises when you reach that critical DO₂, but certainly there are other reasons for rising lactate as well. So these were the gross principles, and there are many nuances to these. We'll slowly cover all of them as we move along in our series. Thank you.